What up, what up, what up, y'all? Love, peace, and hair grease, and a pair of leaves with a permanent crease. It's the grandest of them all. Even your mama fall for. Grandmaster Caz, welcome to the Casual Talk Podcast. I'm not here by myself. I got them boys, them Henny boys. I got my man Big Tone in the building, of course, Big Dame in the building.
Sir.
The mighty Mike C. From the Fearless 4 MCs, my man KB is on deck, and my man Puerto Rico is MIA once again, but we're going to hold it down. I got our first guest on the Casual Talk Podcast in the building. We talk about a few things on the show. We are very sports-orientated among our little clique here, but this is about hip-hop. And I want to really keep it hip-hop now that, you know, the Knicks are out of the the conference finals, and they didn't make it to the chip this year. We're going to root for them moving forward next year, but we're really going to concentrate on some hip-hop. Now, one of the biggest topics that's been going on in hip-hop that they've been talking about is the Latino influence or contributions to hip-hop. There's been a lot of back and forth, bandying back and forth. People is even taking it to the gloves, you know what I mean, with this thing. But I got a brother in the house right now, the Microphone Prince, okay, AKA TMP, we call him for short. And he's been weighing in on this topic for a while, on his own platforms, on different platforms, and he got a lot to say about this. He's one of the people whose opinions I respect as far as historically and as far as his knowledge and his opinions on hip-hop, period, and especially this, him being a Latin, Puerto Rican, you know what I mean, MC, rapper. So welcome to the Casual Talk Podcast.
Thank you, brother.
TMP.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, we got to toast you up.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right.
Boom.
Yeah, yes, sir.
There it is.
All
There it
day, all
is.
day, all day.
All right. Tap me, Mike. There it is. All right. Now, first of all, let's get a little background on you for all of our viewers who may not have the background on you that we do. Tell us a little history about the Microphone Prince.
Been rhyming since about 79. I used to be down with a group called the Throwdown 4. We battle Kid Capri and the Throwdown 3.
All right, somebody turn his mic up. Or turn him up.
Yeah.
He got the laid back Barry White kind. Yo, take a shot. Take a shot. Yeah, you might be taking a shot for that, all right? Turn it up a little bit.
I mean, I did a lot of shit, man. I mean, you know, I never, blew up, but I had radio shows.
That's why we need to know. This is why I'm about origins, and this is why I'm about beginnings, because and for me to respect your opinion, or for the audience to respect what you say to any degree, you know, they got to know where you come from, a little bit about your background, and why should I listen to this guy anyway? Why is he sitting there next to Caz? Okay, so let's start from the beginning.
All right. So like I said, I was down with a group called the Throwdown 4, and we did a lot of shows, mostly outside jams. You know what I'm saying? Around 83, 82. I got down with Capone, and we signed a contract. Comedian Capone from the Apollo Theater.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say,
brother.
Please elaborate.
Yeah.
All right, the comedian, the gangster of comedy.
Yeah, he's a rapper. He's a rapper at heart.
MC.
Yeah,
actually.
that's right. He's an MC. So yeah, so we had a couple of records out. We went, we did a lot of shows with Mr. Magic, Marley Marl, Juice Crew, Big Daddy Kane. And in 1992, Greg Nice introduced me to Tito from the Fearless 4. So they were looking for, the way I believe the story goes is that Eddie O'Loughlin from Next Plateau wanted to put out a Puerto Rican rapper. Tito had just signed a deal with a group named Menagerie with Mark Morales from the Fat Boys. So he kind of just, he threw me in there and said, we did a demo and, we got the deal. So in 1993, we dropped the album, Drunk of Funk, on Next Plateau, Polygram. It might have been the first time that there was a major label involved with, a solo Puerto Rican MC. Obviously the Fearless 4 was the first to sign, as a group that included Puerto Ricans or whatever. We had radio shows. Around 2002, Tito and I formed a group called Ironclad Entertainment. and we started running around the city with the buses, with the raps and all that shit. Did a lot of shows.
Yo, hold on. This nigga, he's smooth with this and that. Let me tell you, man, this nigga and Tito, the devastating Tito from the Fearless Four, they teamed up. They formed an entertainment company called Ironclad. And him and Tito, they was doing their thing. If they never rapped again, they was doing their thing.
Yeah.
You understand? They was getting bread, okay? So any venture that they was going to get into, it was funded. So these cats got together, formed Ironclad, and I'm talking about, how people start a company or a production company, they go out, they start promoting, they got a little fun. These niggas had a band, buses, they shit was rapped, you know what I mean? It was like they was like a record company damn near.
Yeah.
Okay, so you being cool about it.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm like, look at these niggas, man.
I'm excited about a lot of shit.
You would think they had like a deal, like $1 million deal or something.
Yeah.
All right, because y'all showed improved out there. Y'all definitely went out there and promoted. So I didn't want that to be taken lightly. You know what I mean? Being very cool and very humble about that part. All right, we didn't even get to the meat and potatoes yet. Yeah. All right, we talking history. All right, take it from there.
Let's go. I don't know if this is going to be a popular thing to say or not, but at some point, Star from Hot 97, that's Tito's man.
Star and Buck Wild.
So I was always leery, because Star's an ill dude. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, damn, this dude, he's gonna be a fucking problem at some point. But I was fucking with Tito, so I was embraced or whatever. And God bless the dead, when Aaliyah died, Star started doing this thing where he was playing airplane crashes and shit, and he pissed off Jay-Z and Damon Dash. And then, whatever, they said something to him or whatever. So at some point, he called Tito. He was like, yo, I need a diss track for Jay-Z. So I did one, it was kind of on some, throwing a little subliminals. And he was like, man, I don't want that shit. I want you to go hard at this nigga.
Right, say his name, all that shit.
So we did a joint. It was The Real Takeover. And it was just me, and I was just going. Like I knew this motherfucker. I didn't know the motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? But Star played that shit like 3 times a day. 3 times a day every morning for like 3 weeks. So I know it got to Jay-Z. Cause at some point he did a diss track for Star. And he was saying, whatever. He said a bunch of shit, but one of the things he said that I knew was for me, he was like, he did a freestyle. He was like, I forgot what the rhyme was, but he was like, niggas wake up on my dick, eat some breakfast first. So I was like, that nigga talking about me. Because I'm at his neck every morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning.
And if you're a real MC and you write, then you can hear that subliminal shit when people say it.
Yeah, he was like, he said something about, you don't even know me and you mad. How I feel to be a hater. And I was like, that's true, I don't know, dude. You know what I'm saying? But I was just on a mission because Tito was like, yo, I need you to go. So, we went, you know what I mean? And
I got a cat like that right now, man.
Yeah?
I got a cat like that, like
he's
on the fucking
somebody?
leash, man. He like, yo, just let me go, Caz. Point me in a direction, Caz, and let me go. Any of these niggas talking shit about anybody, like, let me go. I got a dude like that, man. So
who's that?
I get it. His name is Razor.
Okay.
I knew that's who you meant.
Razor. Okay, Razor is exactly that. He's young, you know what I mean? He's a beast. He's a beast, and he don't play that disrespect to his mentor.
Shout out to Razor.
So,
no doubt.
Yeah. Put him up for my man Razor. All right, salute to you, my man.
What up, buddy?
He out on the road. He with Onyx. He with KRS-One. They done
Yeah.
adopted my man.
Right.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
That's what's up.
So, all right. So we get to the Ironclad part now. At some point, because you and Tito had a real bond, a real relationship.
Yeah, that's my brother. Yeah, hell
after
yeah.
that, because Tito, was part of Fearless Four, Mighty Mike C. And at some point, when the first generation of hip hop kind of started to fade into the background, if you didn't have no hit records, all right, if you ain't had no kind of something that pushing you forward to the next generation, you kind of faded into obscurity.
Sure.
Somewhat. And so for him to come out and recreate himself and come out, grab you,
Yeah.
which you was like the the next incarnation of Big Pun
Yo,
during that era, my nigga.
Yeah, and that's why he kind of called me. He was like, I need you on that rapid fire.
I'm trying to tell you.
So check this, right? This is going to be a good part of the story. So he had just did the joint, that's a track they did on the Giancana album, and it was originally Nas, AZ, G-Rap, and Tito. So they did the joint, and then that's what kind of sparked him up, you know what I mean? He actually called me like, yo, he called me to his house just so I could be around him when he was writing the motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? I ain't give him no lines or nothing like that. But Nas wound up taking his verse off of the record because G had heard it somewhere else, so I guess G took it off. And then they replaced it with somebody else. But that was kind of the point. But so that's kind of what sparked him, you know, to start up the Ironclad. But when he called me, I couldn't walk. I was weighing about 460 pounds. I had thyroid condition. I was looking like Big Pun. I used to be in the studio, dude, and we used to do a session, and I would lay on the floor flat on my back until it was time to do my part. Then I would get up, do whatever I could do.
When I had to punch, you had saved.
Right, and my back was killing me, and when we had to punch, I would lay the fuck back down on my back. And then he would let me know when it was time, and I would get up and do it again.
Wow.
So around that time, he called me and says, we're doing a joint with Cool G Rap. I threw up. I ran to the bathroom and threw up after I got off the phone and shit. Nigga, I threw up some Eminem shit. I was like, all right, so I wrote, yeah. So, you know, we did that joint. He started putting together an album. We had a joint with Big Daddy Kane, which was crazy. When I met him, we went to the studio, and T is like he would just point me. I was like a CD player. He would be like, yo, hit him with cold cock in your noggin and robbing you for your confidence. Split your esophagus, put your carcass in the sarcophagus, selling your vital organs to felons from different continents. Shish kebabbing your bitch when my dick is harder than calculus.
All right.
And then he'd be like, yo, hit him with the, whatever, the BX, and then the BX, you know what I'm saying? So,
right.
So Kane is an ill dude, I'm looking at, oh shit, fucking Kane, you know what I mean? Like, I had met him before or whatever, but, so T goes into, yo, hit him with the boom, I start going. So Kane, instead of listening and critiquing or whatever, he starts rhyming. It's just, I'm like, oh shit, I'm in a cypher with motherfucking Big Daddy Kane.
MCs do, baby.
Yeah. Right, he didn't think twice and shit. We must have went for like 20 minutes back and forth or whatever. Then he was like, yo, you gave me like, like how you start everything strong, you end up strong or whatever. So we wound up doing a joint with Kane called Floss Game. So I did my part, T does his part. Kane comes in. If you ever look up that song, it's called Floss Game with Ironclad Entertainment. He does a verse that you've heard before. It was like, he did this shit in one take. It was like, y'all cats talk about what I've been did, false dentures, y'all's bitches, all defenseless against it, put them in the clinches, nobody wins it. You see where your heart to be regarding me, heart to be pumping through your heart. One fucking verse and walked out. It took me like 30 fucking, okay, go ahead, okay, this motherfucker just did this shit, you know what I mean? So, T really blessed me to really be around. I would have never bumped into G-Rap otherwise. I would have never bumped into Big Daddy Kane otherwise, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, you never know. I mean, but it's great to have somebody like that that'll put you right in that lane. And trust and believe, a lot of times, it's like, yo, you should be thankful that this and this and that. Yeah, I'm thankful, motherfucker, but trust, I wasn't no bum-ass nigga. Somebody just said, here, I'm a, you know what I mean? Exactly. I'm a talented motherfucker. Somebody recognized me.
That's true.
And said, yo, come fuck with me. I want to fuck with you.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because don't know you was there. You still had to show and prove.
Exactly.
If you'd have been whack, that spot wouldn't have been there for you no more.
That's what they used to tell me, like, yo, stop saying thank you, bro. Like, I asked you to come here because I need you to do what you do. I was like, all right, that's cool.
You earned your way here.
Yeah,
you deserve your way in here.
Standards.
So, like I said,
yes,
I mainly wanted you here because I wanted you to weigh in on the Hispanics in hip hop, you know what I mean, controversy, and I liked your perspective when I heard you mention that you had heard us talk about it on the show.
I wanted to answer the fucking question.
Okay.
I was talking to the screen when y'all was talking and shit.
All right. So yes, I thought it was important. So I mean, there's different facets of this. I mean, how we approach it. There's no one answer or there's no one theme, that you can say. But basically, first, just give me your take on the whole, thing, how it escalated from one thing to the next, and just kind of break it down. What is it really? What's the answer to this thing? Okay.
I think that everything can be traced back. Everything is still right there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Now, I did a post recently, and the post you're talking about, I was talking about, I said hip hop, but I probably misspoke, because I was talking about the elements of DJing and MCing, and people got mad at me because I said that those are really the main two elements. I mean, they're all elements, but the DJ and the MC, now that the MC has come to the forefront, it's like we literally are speaking, we're the voice of the culture. You know what I'm saying? So, and if you just look at where all the money's coming from, it's MCs and then DJs. So that's not to disrespect breakdance, because it's a culture. I love the culture, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't start loving hip hop when we started making money. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I love the culture. So, my take on the MC and DJing, which was the most important, part to me. I believe the shit can be traced back to 6 people. You know what I'm saying? So now, we say, who created hip hop? There's millions of people around the world who are claiming creation. 99.9% of black people weren't involved with hip hop. It was the black people that were in New York.
Right.
99.9% of Puerto Ricans weren't involved with hip hop. It was the Puerto Ricans that was in New York, and not all of them.
Right.
A very small portion of them. So I come to terms a long time ago that Puerto Ricans didn't invent MCing, and Puerto Ricans didn't invent hip hop DJing. You know what I'm saying? So in my mind, I got it as, I recently was speaking to LA, and he put me up on more Hollywood history, because I used to kind of minimize his influence. Like, he's a disco guy. But so in my mind now, he's kind of the one who brought the rap, right? And it was disco or whatever. We couldn't get into the discos. We started doing shit outside. But so I would say Hollywood, and then I would say Kool Herc, because there was a lot of DJs. Everybody was DJing. But he decided to do something different. People started playing certain soul records, certain records that had breaks, but then he decided to, obviously, as we all know, play only the break beats, which was the merry-go-round. So he didn't have a mixer, and he just played the break beats, but I guess the shit came in off beat or whatever.
Yeah, definitely it was. You had to wait till the song came all the way and then start all over again, right?
But he changed it from DJing to that, then Flash changed it from that to the quick mix theory, and that was the first time that there was a bed of music extended where a person like Melly Mel could be like, that's where I come in.
Right.
And he starts writing, and he changed it from, like a master of ceremonies, or, throw your hands up and all that, that's all good, but Mel changed it to da-da-da-da-ba-da-da-ba-da-da, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm serious, this is me, this is my swag,
rhymes,
you know what I'm saying?
Verses, bars.
So he did that, and from what I understand, Creole played a part. Would you say that Creole played a part with that? I don't know.
Oh yeah, definitely. They were brothers.
Like they kind of,
Creole, and they kind of fed off of each other.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So,
and they were 2 of the first MCs.
Right. So those are to me the 6 people: Bambaataa, Hollywood, Herc, Flash, Mel, and Creole. Now going back to Bambaataa real quick. This is just, this is how I see it. You know what I'm saying? Bambaataa's importance was crazy, because he was bringing in from the gangs and the truce that happened and turning that into hip hop. The Black Spades turned into Zulu Nation.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And people always be like, they think that the Black Spades means we're black and we're Spades. No, Black Spades had Puerto Ricans too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
all
definitely.
those gangs, those things weren't broken down by black or Puerto Rican. It was broken down by area. And in that area, it was blacks and Puerto Rican, and they were always together. You know what I mean? So, the narrative like that that Puerto Ricans kind of came over after from their culture. I feel like our generation of Puerto Ricans was introduced to the culture along with everybody else at the same time. Like there was never a time where our generation was dancing fucking salsa music, and then we said, you know what, I'm gonna go fuck with the hip hop.
Hold on. Because you made a good point there. Because generationally, that's where we all get our shit from. So everybody that's in that same age range, everybody that go to the same school, everybody that listen to the same radio station gets the same culture. Okay, now how you manifest that, you know what I mean, and how that plays, you know, into your life as it is, depends on what's going on in your life already. Now, most of us are already on that path. We grew up with music in our house, R&B, soul music, hip hop. A lot of the break beats that we gravitated to came from songs that our parents used to play in our homes. Some of the earliest experiences from a lot of Spanish, Hispanic, Latino, Puerto Rican, whatever, Dominican, you know, the people involved in hip hop, the generation prior to them wasn't involved in this kind of music. Wasn't involved in black culture the same way. There were some, but not black as much as this generation, okay? Like you said, the generation prior were, you know, racist against black people.
Yeah, I want to talk about that.
Sometimes justifiably so, and sometimes that's just the way they were brought up. You understand what I'm saying? I remember my first partner in this thing, you know, Disco Wiz. He was Puerto Rican, you know what I mean? And half Cuban, half Puerto Rican. And he got a lot of flack from being with me, from hanging out with me or seeing him. I didn't get no flack from hanging out with him. When people seeing me with him or the Puerto Rican dude, you know, with the Kango and Just Fly, they just seen two fly niggas, the black and the Puerto Rican. When Puerto Rican people say, I said, yo, what you doing with that fucking Moreno? What you doing with that Cocolo? Why you listen to that black shit? That was the attitude. And that can't be denied, okay? So, if anything, the hip-hop generation kind of closed that gap.
Not kind of.
Definitively closed that gap as far as, you know, they do that and we do this. No, we all do this.
Right.
We all do this.
Yeah, and like I really wanted to, because that's real important, because, you know, people have the idea that it was just racism. Like, I remember a time, all right, I might have been 12 years old. I go to my aunt's crib, and it's around Hunts Point Avenue. I know it was a fucking race shit going on. I'm 12 years old. I'm hanging with my cousins and shit. All of a sudden, these niggas take off running. But a group of like 4 black kids and shit grab you. We got this motherfucker. So it's a junkyard, right? And there's a little stream going down the middle of the junkyard. It was like, nigga, you gonna take off your shoes and you're gonna walk through that motherfucking stream. I'm like, yeah, I wasn't built for that shit. I was 12, motherfucker like 15, 16. I was like,
so you got your feet wet that day.
Doing that shit. No, I wasn't. Yeah, they gonna have to fuck me up. My cousin came back like, nah, you know, he's a civilian. I don't know what word he used, but it was like, nah, he's not, you know, he doesn't, you know, he don't know nothing about this shit. You know what I'm saying? So I understand about there being that kind of racial tension, you know what I'm saying? But to me, that's the most beautiful thing about hip hop. And it's like the element that nobody mentions is that's the shit that brought everybody together.
I mention it every day. It is the greatest thing about hip hop. People talk about the financial gains that the generations have made, how it's, you know, helped our generations of black, you know what I mean, disenfranchised youth, you know, get a fucking leg up in the society. And it has been useful as that. But I think the most value that comes from this culture is how it brings us together, you know what I mean? And emphasizes our similarities more than our, you know, the things that we don't have in common. And that's the fucking power of hip hop. Now, a few people have took this thing to heart. I mean, like seriously to heart. You know what I mean? And for me, I think if it's about hip hop, settle it through hip hop. Settle it in a hip hop way. That's my thing. If you're a DJ and you don't like the new technology in hip hop, you feel like DJs is cheating or whatever, okay, we'll battle the nigga, man.
Right.
All right, don't bash him on the internet. Don't, you know what I mean? Don't, you know, battle the nigga. Show that what you do is better than that. That's what hip hop is about, for me, personally. But people are very passionate about this motherfucking subject. One person in particular, my brother Crazy Legs. Okay? And yeah, I'm going to talk about it. Shout out to Legs, man.
Shoot up one for Legs.
Yeah, we got, let me take a shot right quick.
For Legs.
For Legs.
Crazy Legs.
Yo, remind me about the B Street story.
Okay, right after this. Crazy Legs has been another proponent as far as this conversation is concerned. Very passionate about, the contributions of Latino people in hip hop. He goes back far enough to be able to, say something definitively about it, being one of the people who kind of helped move part of the culture forward. You know what I mean? As being one of the members of the Rocksteady crew.
Yeah, worldwide, word.
President of the Rocksteady crew. And through the dance and through, their skill and excellence at the dance helped to spread the culture around the world through the dance. So he definitely got a voice. But Lord Jamar has also weighed in on the conversation, and they're at two different ends of the spectrum. I mean, so far, away that it's become conflictual. And now, these Legs want to take it to the boxing ring. All right, could you talk about that a little bit?
I don't know. I just feel that, there's a way to talk. There's a way to talk without disrespecting people who used to support you. So this needs checking. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you've always expressed your opinion, and I've never felt insulted by your opinions. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that, sometimes the rhetoric online and the comments and the hate, it gets to the point where, I understand, you know what I mean? I wouldn't do that. I'm not in shape to be fighting and all that shit, rounds and all that shit. But I don't know, I was kind of happy when I heard, you know what I'm saying? Because really? It's like, all right, because back in the days when we disrespected each other, you knuckled the fuck up. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not advocating for that, but I understand his frame of mind. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you want to make a stand and make a plea for peace and unity and say, we don't want y'all to fight, I'm with that too, because hip hop is about peace. You know what I'm saying? But I understand the brothers' frustrations. Puerto Rican nigga from the Bronx want to fight after a while.
Stop front, nigga. I want to see the shit happen, man.
KB calling.
All right. What up, Mike? Mike, you was a part of the Fearless Four, along with the devastating Tito.
You have something to say about Puerto Ricans?
Talk about.
Can you chime in, please? Sorry.
Tell us, did you ever sense that the crew or Tito being part of the Fearless Four, was there any dissension about there being a Puerto Rican? I mean, even your DJ, the Master OC, was Puerto Rican as well. Right. So y'all, just like the Cold Crush, you know what I mean, was integrated, with the Hispanic influence in your group.
Honestly, we never even looked at it like that. We never even thought.
Nobody did.
We didn't either.
Like
that's why it was never a fucking issue.
People.
Yeah, we crushed them and shit. Okay.
We don't have to be geographically correct.
All right, but about Mario. So I'm confused because I was under the impression that there was a lot of DJs, but Herc and Flash were the ones that innovated and changed it, so that, that's like the only distinction that I would make between them is that they changed something that the culture wind up keeping.
Mario played with a mixer.
Yeah, he played with a mixer, but he
before
wasn't
Flash?
Yeah, but
Yeah?
Was Mario? Mario was more of a promoter than he was a DJ. Okay, it was his equipment.
Right.
All right, Bam used to get equipment from Mario when Bam first started DJing.
Okay.
There's a couple of cats from that area who, like Cool D, Tyrone, the mixologist. They from Bronxdale, Disco King Mario. These niggas is like unsung because they were there during the early developmental period, but once the shit went past that, they weren't to be heard of. Either life caught up to them and they started doing other things. They got married, went into the army or whatever. But at one time, they were as prominent in their neighborhoods as Kool Herc was on the west side. Okay, but if you had to pick one person who was dominant over everybody, you had to say it was Kool Herc, because everybody from Bambaataa to Kool D to all of them, you had to, Kool Herc was that dude. All right. Now, if your sensibility, like if you come from the side of town we come from, I lived up the block from Kool Herc. I lived on Fallon Place. You can walk from my building to 1520 Sedgwick Avenue. So you motherfucker right. My influence, especially in '73, I was 13. I was 13 when that first party happened there. All right. So was I in Bronx River? Nope. Was I in Queens? Was I in Brooklyn? No. I was up the block from Kool Herc. So that's my immediate influence. Now, if you were somebody somewhere else, and there was somebody as influential in your neighborhood, then that's where you got your hip hop from. But if you ask that person, they gonna mention Kool Herc.
Okay.
So it all comes back down, full circle.
So let me ask everybody in the room this.
I think if you ask Bam, which I would never ask Bam.
Bam no too.
But Bam also got most of his shit from Mario.
From Mario, that's what I just said. Yeah.
No, but I'm saying you're saying everybody is gonna automatically say Herc. I don't believe that. I think now that it's cool to say Mario. I mean, it's cool to say Herc because Mario passed a long time ago.
Nah, you can't say that. You can't say. If Mario was here today, Kool Herc would still be the name.
No, he definitely would. But I think more people would have Mario in their voice and in their comments if he wouldn't have passed early.
I agree with that. I agree with that as well, and that would have added to the conversation as far as the Latin influence in hip hop. That's another name that you could have brought to the forefront, to say that. Now, I wanted to address a comment because I brought you on the show because you saw what we talked about before, and you made a comment, and that made me say, let me bring him on the show because he got some real shit to say about it. But I did get a comment, okay, from somebody who really don't know what the fuck they're talking about and took what I said the wrong way, and I want to address that right now. Okay, now somebody made a comment on our post about last week. Let me take my glasses off.
Oh, we on?
And they said anybody can clearly feel that Caz hate us Boricuas.
Wow.
All right? Because when it comes to his top MC, he puts himself on as top. But when it comes to the DJ, he could have mentioned or honor DJ Disco Wiz and DJ Charlie Chase, who with any of them two, there would be no Grandmaster Caz.
Wow.
Okay. Without DJ Disco Wiz or DJ Charlie Chaser, nobody would know or would be talking about Caz.
Wow.
And he knows this. Okay, now I'm not gonna dignify who sent this and who the fuck you are, because I ain't trying to give you no fame or none of that. If you clickbaiting, the shit didn't work. But let me tell you this. I am and have been one of the biggest advocates for Latinos, Puerto Ricans, whatever you want to call, in hip-hop. Some of the most notable first Puerto Ricans involved in the culture of hip-hop were down with me. Disco Wiz was down with me. Did I go to his house and ask him to DJ with him? No, I was a DJ. We went to school together. We was partners. I said, yo, come to my house. Check out what I do. Get down with me. I put Disco Wiz down with Casanova Fly, okay? Now, as far as Charlie Chase was down with a group called Tom and Jerry. All right, they played disco music in the park, and every now and then they would let Charlie get on and play 15 minutes of hip hop. All right, and I would pass by their jams and see Charlie during that 15 minutes of hip hop and jump on the mic with him. Okay, after that, Tony Tone left the Brothers Disco and started his own crew and recruited Charlie Chase to be the main DJ, and then recruited us, the Cold Crush 4, to be a part of the crew. Okay? Now, prior to me getting down with the Cold Crush, Charlie Chase and Tony Tone and all these different sets of MCs that were down with them were doing park jams, okay, in different spots. You understand what I'm saying? When I got down with the Cold Crush Brothers, me, JDL, Easy AD, Almighty KG, and became the Cold Crush 4, that's when Charlie Chase and the Cold Crush Brothers came to prominence. So as far as you thinking Charlie Chase put me on or Disco Wiz put me on, no. I put them on, or we put each other on, but it was not the opposite. And as far as me not being nothing without them, I'm here. I'm here right now. Okay, my man Disco Wiz is a successful a chef. You know what I mean? He living life. He got his wife. He married. He's out of this thing. He's doing his thing. My man Charlie Chase is in Tampa, Florida. He's doing something else. Who's running hip hop? Okay, who's holding the banner of hip hop? Who's holding this culture up? Me, nigga. That's who. So the next time you want to comment on something about somebody who don't like Boricuas, nigga, I got 2 kids from Puerto Rican girls. My man TMP is a testament to the fact that I've been rocking with Puerto Ricans and Puerto Ricans been rocking with me since day one. So the next time you want to leave a comment on our post, know what the fuck you talking about, all right? Period. Take that. I'll drink to that.
Drink to that. You gotta drink to that.
Gotta drink to that one.
Drink to that.
Gotta drink to that one.
Come on now.
I would.
Come on now.
Give my man the show. Give my man the show the tip. Give my man the show the tip. I would drink to it.
I mean, for real.
If you ever. I had to be JDL right there for a minute.
Nah, I mean, cause I'm not the rah-rah, this and that, such and such. But don't ever try to disrespect, you know what I mean, my stature and what I do and what I say in this culture. Okay, if anybody is a proponent for Hispanics in hip hop, it's been me. Okay, every motherfucking important Puerto Rican in the beginning of hip hop was part of me or was supported by me or with me. From Disco Wiz to Prince Whipper Whip to DJ Charlie Chase, all of them. You understand what I'm saying? So knock it the fuck off. That's all I'm saying. All right?
Like
I'm
I was
not
saying,
the one you want that smoke with.
Back in the days when you did no shit like that.
I am not the one you want that smoke with. So TMP, you remember my man T-Rock?
It's my brother.
That's when I met you. That's when I first was up on Microphone Prince, when you used to rock with T-Rock, all right?
You know how I met T-Rock?
Tell me about it.
We went to high school art and design. 9th grade, I tried to sell that motherfucker a Cold Crush tape. You know what he said to me? He said, motherfucker, if I want a Cold Crush tape, I go to Caz house and make one.
House and get one. The nigga live around
Make
the
one,
corner
nigga
from
said.
I knew you.
Yeah.
We went to art and design together.
For real?
Tron.
Yeah, my
Busy
peoples.
D.
Busy D was Capone.
That's why.
That's
That was Capone.
Gangsta comedy Capone is Busy D.
Busy D.
Pharaoh Monks was in
Pharrell
my
Monks was
grade.
in it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he used to play ball.
Fable.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fable knows me from art and design.
The way he reminisce over you.
Yeah, man.
Small world.
My dog.
So I tried to sell him a Cold Crush tape. He said, I go to Caz house and make one if I want. We formed the crew. Me and Busy D and T-Rock. It was T-Rock and a Turnout too. And then, we started running around and, started to do whatever little show with Poppy. Remember Poppy?
No doubt. Poppy, T-Rock's Pops, Step Pops, or whatever. You know what I mean? He used to rock with Ray Chandler.
Yep.
Ray Chandler was the head of Black Door Productions, who managed Flash and them in the early days. So, our lineage is fucking bananas. You know, and anytime anybody want to check my motherfucking res, you better read between the lines, because I'm like traffic. You can't say you ain't seen the signs. I'm a fiend for rhymes. I rip mics like a hymen, impeccable timing. Ain't nobody fucking with my rhyming style or flow. I make a pile of dough, speed wild, hoe, and they get wild and bold. All right, don't fuck with me, man. Stop playing with me, man. But I want to talk about some current. Thank you, baby. My man Tone always be like, yo, hit them niggas with something.
For real.
I'm going to get you too. We going to get TMP before it's all said and done. And the Mighty Mike C as well. KB, man, welcome to the festivities, my dude.
Sir.
KB,
The black man in the house.
KB from Brooklyn, all right? And now, we moved the studio. We was in Harlem. We in Brooklyn right now, and we figured you'd be the first one here.
Yeah.
And we had to wait on you. What happened, KB?
Coming from work.
Coming from
You know
work,
what I'm saying? Coming from
in my swerve.
And
Yeah, my
My son works.
My son
dumb navigation.
Oh yeah, man, the GPS, man. Now,
Put it on the
how can you fuck up the GPS,
Take
man?
me Pond Flatbush.
Oh, you had Siri. Like Mike Siri was steering you left.
practicing with the bro.
Sidebar, we on the border of Brooklyn, Queens.
Are we?
We on the border. We right there. We right there.
I wouldn't know, man. I put the
right
address in. I'd be like, take me here. Okay.
We right there.
My man Vernick is in the building. Okay, this is my partner, Vernick Alvarez. I call him Councilman because he's running for council.
How was that Shirley Temple over there, bro?
In his district where he at. We have our full support here, all right, on the CAZual Talk podcast. You brought up something that you thought that we should talk about on the show. You sent me a note, all right? Could you look that up for me? And because that was very interesting. I thought that that's something that we should discuss as well. Now, y'all, it's a lot of shit, like a lot of fodder, they call, you know what I mean, for these podcasts and shit going on right now. But don't think you're gonna hear none of that shit here, okay? Because basically, we don't give a fuck, all right, about all that sideways shit. We don't care who paperwork you got, you know what I mean? We don't care about who shot who or but none of that, man. This is about hip hop, man. All right, this is our boys, this is our folks. So we trying to get to the business of the culture. All right, we trying to set some truths in place because we got a hip hop museum about to open up.
Word.
In the Bronx, New York City, 2026. And we want to be the motherfucking ipso facto, you know what I mean, last word on this culture of hip hop. Right. So, I mean, we can't have all this sideways shit going on. We got to get to some kind of conclusions and make some kind of agreements among the elders and among the participants of this culture about what's real and what's not, what's what. Because once we're gone, people going to start making shit up.
Yeah, they're trying to make shit up now.
Yeah. While we're here.
Yeah, like,
while we're here.
Perfect Vernon got something to say. Perfect segue. What I was saying was how it may be obvious that hip hop is currently under attack and how they're making space for other genres of music to supersede it, like country music.
That's right. Now I remember. He sent me an email. He was talking about how, like you said, hip hop is under attack, and by different forces that are trying to take the attention away into other things.
Trying to take our title,
music, for example. Title being one.
I'm saying that they're trying to take hip hop's title.
Yeah.
We got the title right now.
These DSPs, you know what I mean? That you know what I mean, are supposedly the streaming services that are lessening the value of our songs from like whatever they was $1.99 to like 0.0% percent, and all. And there's an all-out assault on trying to disseminate the culture and take it into different directions. Does anybody see that?
Yeah, it's been like that. Money, but it was we had control over it when they had to go buy the records. When they had to go buy the records and go buy the stuff, when that streaming came along, they deaded that shit. They started pumping more money into that shit, and the youngins that really could barely rap was getting hit with millions. And the standards left. That's gone.
I think that had more to do with people's independence and being able to make music on their own and not need a record company to just put out music randomly and get put it on Spotify or whatever these DSPs. I think that's what lessened the value of songs in themselves. I mean, if you put out an album, that shit costs $14.99 or $15.99, and you getting 10% off that album, then you getting 10% of $16, man. If you put out a motherfucking record and you getting 0.07%, you know what I mean? What the fuck is that?
But I look at hip hop like a house. You got that one room that if you in that room, you there. You got it. You on top. If you in that room. But if it could be 8 other rooms in that house. But if you in that one room, you got skill.
Well, if you using that analogy, it must be a fucking mansion, all right?
Definitely.
Because there's so many rooms, nigga, and there's only one room that you gonna be alright in.
Yeah.
All right? That's like you in a Diddy party, nigga. That room, don't fuck with that room. You know what I mean? In one sensibility, that's the room to be in. And another sensibility, stay the fuck out of that room. All right? And we talking about a bunch of rooms, and there should be opportunities in more rooms. There should be more fucking rooms. All right? And you pile everybody in one room and say, well, if you want to get in this room, you know what I mean? And then it takes on a whole sense, another sensibility.
Now is a country record, right?
Where them fans at?
Yeah.
Ain't that a country record? Boots on the ground.
Yeah.
I just one of the hottest records out right now, yeah. And as far as
I don't know that that's a
the
country.
general
I don't know that
public,
that's a-
Yeah, it's like R&B.
yeah,
to me,
I
it's
think,
like R&B.
you know, the
yeah.
older
It's one of the country
black
records.
generation,
Yeah.
you know, the line dance kind of generation, the people who like the Cupid slide, the electric slide, they was like, oh shit, a new one. Where them fans at? So they with that. But as far as like the world, a lot of times we generalize things. We think because our community or because the you know the dome or umbrella that we're under, we feel like everybody feels the same way.
No.
There's a whole fucking
know.
world out there who don't know what the fuck we talking about
Have
right
no
now.
clue. No clue.
There's a lot of people, I don't care who you mention, the biggest artists in the fucking world, mention them somewhere, and there's somebody who'll be like, huh?
Who?
Look, there was a post and of the girl who spoke out for I forgot the girl's name. Who she was winning an award recently, and she spoke out against the violence against Mexicans and deportation. So somebody had commented, when was the last time that a Hispanic artist said something or posted something about BLM, about Black Lives? So I didn't really know. So I just looked, I just Googled it, and so many names came up. I felt so fucked up because these are all huge Latin artists that are selling millions of records, and I had never heard of none of them.
Yeah.
So it just goes to your point that we be so isolated in our little corners that we don't know what's going on in other places.
Exactly. There's people who they could shit on the biggest hip hop artists right now. There's fucking DJs out here that make more money than some of the biggest hip hop
doubt.
artists. You just don't know about them.
Just
They
don't know
out here.
about 'em.
There's soccer players that's way bigger than LeBron James.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but you ain't into soccer, so you don't give a fuck,
Right.
and you don't know. You don't
Right.
live in Brazil or motherfucking Argentina where that matters most.
Right.
So it's all about, in this bubble that we in, that we, keep ourselves in. You got to look outside. The culture is way bigger than what the fuck is going on right in front of our face.
Yep.
All right, and we constantly getting distracted.
Definitely.
Now, back to this Latin thing. Past our generation, we talk about Disco Wiz and we talk about Ruby D, who was part of the Fantastic Five, who has been quoted as saying, Ruby D is my name, I'm a Puerto Rican. You might think I'm black by the way I'm speaking. Okay, that's just an indication of a Puerto Rican person adapting black culture and saying it right there to himself. Because I'm Puerto Rican, yeah, and I speak Spanish. But I adapted to black culture. So I adapted to hip hop. So because I adapted to hip hop, you might think I'm black.
Right.
And he made that distinction himself. You understand? So I don't think most people's argument is not against there ain't no Latinos in hip hop or they didn't contribute to hip hop or anything. But I think the backlash from the argument itself created a big extra, like, we half and half, we contribute. Fat Joe's
That was
been
a
quoted
bad
as saying,
quote, you know what I mean?
Latinos is responsible, half and half responsible for hip hop. Get the fuck out of here, okay? And that's no slight to Latinos. I'm just saying to that notion. Because if you look right now at the entire population of hip hop, how many blacks and how many Latinos is it?
Hip hop is
The
black
ratio,
culture, man.
even to this day, is not half and half. Okay, so it's obvious that, since we live close in proximity, that we both adapted this culture, but more of us, is from our culture, it came naturally, and for the Latinos, it's like, okay, that shit is cool. I fucks with that. I live, next to, how many Puerto Ricans lent me speakers? How many fucking DJs, that you'll never hear of. But if it wasn't for them, niggas couldn't have came outside that day.
That's a good point.
DJ Cisco, DJ Bucko, from Davidson Avenue in the Bronx that had the little karate spot on Davidson that used to give jam. Them niggas got more break beats than it mentioned any DJ. They got the same records as they do. You never hear about them. But a lot of times, if niggas played, they needed their set. They needed DJ and Bucko and Cisco to bring their set out or borrow records from them.
Remember Quick? DJ Quick?
Yeah, DJ Quick. The first time I used a beatbox, it was the dude named DJ Ray from the Bigga Corporation.
For real?
Bigga?
Bigga Corporation and Hey, listen,
Bigga.
I went to Theodore Roosevelt. We had our, you know, when everybody have that final trip, that graduation trip, and the whole school go, we got a train. We had took an A train to Coney Island, our whole school. Roosevelt went to Coney Island, and this nigga was playing, it was Rockaway Beach or something. And this nigga Ray and he had Sherwin Vegas speakers set out there, like his shit was banging, but he was Puerto Rican. He had red hair, his name was DJ Ray, Bigga. But that nigga had the same beatbox as Flash. That original, and had that shit. And sometimes used to lend niggas speakers so they could have jams. So when you say that Puerto Ricans weren't involved, maybe not directly, maybe not in the forefront a lot of times, but there's so many DJs I could think of that used to play on corners, on blocks, block parties, this and that. And they were essential. When niggas came and got on the mic with them, nigga, you upped your ante. You know what I mean? When Chase and them was playing outside and I went and got on the mic, nigga, that made me shine. They gave me shine.
Yeah, man.
So the involvement is definitely there. The contributions is definitely there, from graffiti writers to B-boys to DJs to MCs, okay? And there's no doubt about that. All right? Salute to our Boricuas. All right.
Bigga.
Salute to my son Mojo and his baby mom's Cookie. Salute to my daughter Julie and her mom's Yvette, both Puerto Rican. Okay. So trust and believe. I got love for my Boricuas, all right?
Vámonos, muchachos. Chelo culo grande.
¿Qué? All right, there it is.
Pastelas.
Who today? I mean, we can go back. We can talk about Whip and Prince Marky D and some of the cats, but who, like, moving up kind of kept the Boricua flag going in the culture of hip hop?
I mean, from Whip and you know, Ruby.
Yeah, we're talking about after Whip
Tito,
and Ruben. We're talking about next generations.
I feel like, you know, there's a couple out there. This kid named Curious.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say Curious.
You know, that's my man.
Curious
We did a
nice.
joint recently. Prince Power Rule was out there. But, you know, hip-hop is about who can make it to the top. So a lot of people don't get recognized because of that. I've been doing this shit 40 years, and people don't know who the fuck I am. So it kind of skipped the pun, you know what I'm saying? Like pun really took it to the next level, you know what I mean? And even that was, he said, he kissed, you know, G-Rap said he kissed his ring, you know what I'm saying? Like, he knew that was a G-Rap flow that he was doing, you know what I'm saying? But, I mean, I guess I wanted to ask you guys what you think about the breakdancing part, because I'm not an expert at that, but from what I understand, the Boricua influence was a lot heavier in breakdancing than it was, you know, at the beginning of you know, I'm talking about creating, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, as far as my, you know, me, I go as far back as being a B-boy, okay? Like 74, you know what I mean, trying it out, doing the thing, and have my little crew and shit like that. My influence from B-boys came from blacks, black B-boys. The cats that used to dance at Cool Herc's parties, Sasa and El Dorado Mike and the Nigga Twins, you know what I mean? And
they were definitely
and Trixie and all of those guys.
I would think so.
I don't know, Trixie look a little
so they're Puerto Rican, they try a little too hard.
Shout out to the Nigga Twins.
But here's what happened. Here's what happened. That was in the area of the Bronx that I was in. Now, if you understand that this is coming right off the gang culture in New York City, and gang culture was adopted straight into hip hop. Like a lot of these gangs turned into crews. All right, and turned into hip hop crews. So the ones who gravitated toward the dance helped to elevate the dance as well.
Right.
All right, so you're talking about Latinos and gang culture, and then coming over with moving into hip hop. That was a definitive influence. And then the first generation of B-boys started to fade out because breaking was a young thing. It was a youthful thing. And the problem was you can't dance with girls while you break dancing. So if you're in a party, you trying to get some pussy, all right, you can't walk up to a chick and be like, yo, shorty, you want to dance? And then take her to the middle of the floor, turn your motherfucking hat backwards, and start breaking and dancing, moonwalking and spinning. The bitch gonna be like, what the fuck is wrong with this nigga? I'm going to the fever. All right, so a lot of the older guys just abandoned the dance. And for a minute, it wasn't cool to be breakdancing. If you're 16, 17, years old, 8, you know what I mean? So the cooler guys, kind of gravitated away from it. Breaking died for a small period. And then the Rocksteady crew, TBB, the Bronx Boys, you know what I mean? All these local crews started to come up and resurrected the dance. And these were mainly comprised of Latinos, Puerto Ricans.
What year would you say that breakdancing sort of died off?
I would say 79, maybe 80 to 82. Because when Flashdance came out, and when the documentaries, Style Wars, and then Wild Style came out, they increased the visibility of the culture and brought it back tenfold. When Flashdance came out as a full feature-length motion picture and featured the fucking Rocksteady crew and the breakdancing, that was the first time the country saw it. So when the country saw it, it caught fire. And that's why the Rocksteady crew got the notoriety that they continued to get from that, movies to follow, and on. You know what I mean? So now, like I said, the Latin or the Puerto Rican contingency picked up the breakdancing ball and ran with that shit when niggas or black people thought it wasn't cool no more.
They moved it.
Plain and simple. Now, were there still blacks breaking? Yes, there were. And to this day, yeah, there's still black, but it's not a predominantly black thing no more.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? It's not.
Do you think they moved it forward, though?
They definitely moved it forward. You crazy?
That's what I'm saying.
Listen, the Puerto Ricans in hip hop made the shit look dope to other people looking at it. Because a lot of people didn't see Trixie. A lot of people didn't see Sasa. They didn't see James Bond. They didn't see the nigga twins. All right, but they saw Flashdance, they saw Wild Style, they saw Beat Street, and that's where they got their breakings from. That's where they got their breakings from.
When my mother and father used to do this dance where he used to throw her under his legs and then spin my arms around his neck and he'd start doing all this stuff. I'm quite sure you see.
That was like the 30s and 40s.
My mother and father used to do that shit. They was in there doing that.
Man, me and your mother ain't never did none of that shit. Now,
you and my mom was cool. But then if you didn't do that,
that was like Whitey Ford.
But would you consider that like part of the culture of breaking?
Sure.
The way they was spinning?
Sure. Breaking was inspired by so many different things, and especially as it moved on. Now, in the beginning, you talked about this earlier, that it's all culture, and we can all trace this back to other things that already existed. But we didn't see those things.
Right.
I never, I was lucky enough.
Film.
I was lucky enough to hear Pigmeat Markham do Here Come the Judge. I was 6, 7 years old when that record came out, and I was directly influenced by that.
Love that.
But the B-boys of this generation never saw the Nicholas brothers.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
They never saw the African dancers. They never saw capoeira. Okay, until later on, and then they started seeing things in karate movies and stuff like that, and start emulating moves from there. They started seeing other things in movies, films like that emulated those moves, and all of those things led to the breaking that you see today. All of those things were integrated into it. Yeah. All right, but the original, if you see me breakdance, if I could breakdance right now the way I did back in the day, you'd be like, that's that bitch from the Olympics. That's that bitch.
I can do that shit.
That's how primitive. That's how primitive my spirit was.
So Caz,
So you can see why I graduated and moved on. You know what I mean?
Talking is a lot
Caz,
easier.
Exactly.
So Caz, you was on the cardboard?
I was pre-cardboard.
Nah, cardboard came.
Wasn't
up.
no
That was later.
That shit came later.
We didn't have no cardboard. We didn't have no
But you did. You was down there.
Yeah, man. I used to break.
That shit came later. All that
No,
cardboard.
I'm just saying. No, I'm just asking. Was he down there?
My DJ name came from my b-boy name. My b-boy name was Casanova Fly. Okay, and then when I became a DJ, I just kept the name Casanova Fly as a DJ.
Right.
Okay, but I was down with a crew of b-boys called the Casanova Crew.
And he was Casanova Fly. He was spin that way.
Oh, okay.
It was like Casanova Red, it was Casanova Mac, it was Casanova this, Casanova that.
The original ASAP mob.
And I picked Casanova Fly, yeah, exactly, before the ASAP mob and all that, you know.
The Casanovas.
Yeah, but that quickly played, for me, dancing and breaking, because I was all right at it, I was good, but I wanted more out of the culture. I wanted a bigger involvement. When I snuck in Kool Herc Party and seen that nigga DJing, I'm like, fuck dancing. I'm gonna make people dance. You know what I mean? It's like 100 people out here dancing, but it's only one nigga up in that booth, and he's making all of them dance. He's in control. That's what I want to be. Okay? And so that's when I was like, shit, I ain't that good at this shit anyway. Let these niggas dance, and I'm gonna be a DJ. All right, and that's how I resolve. Let's talk about how many people aren't recognized for their for where they come from, or their, you know what I mean, in hip hop. Because there's a lot of people that we be like, everybody black, but everybody ain't black. I mean, we are all black. I mean, let me fix that. We are all black, all blacks and Latinos, Hispanics. We are all black. All right, but there's different levels to the shit and different cultures in it. There's so many hip hop people that come from the early days on up till today that are from so many different ethnic backgrounds. Mm-hmm. We just took for granted they was black.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Grandmaster Flash, Kool Herc, Bambaataa, and we talking about the forefathers of this culture.
Right.
Okay. Kango Kid is Haitian.
Caribbean, yeah.
KRS-One is a Caribbean. I mean, there's so many different people. They could be Jamaican or from Jamaican, just Caribbean consent, Haitian, whatever, but they look black. Now, when you go to school, everybody talk the same. There's a few people that nigga's, that's one of them, or that nigga from, you know what I mean? Because they carry the culture, the voice of the culture with them. Yeah. But some people have assimilated to American culture. They speak just like black people do. And unless you go to their house, you know what I mean? Where they moms be like, Bomba Clyde, boy, your boy. You know what I mean? You don't hear none of that shit. You don't even know that.
Uh-huh. And I definitely got a funny story real quick. As youth, you know what I'm saying, growing up, you know what I'm saying, this family moved in my building, and when I tell you these brothers was dark skinned, KB black. Not that you're bad black, but they was KB black.
You ain't doing these people justice.
Moonshine bright.
If they was black like that, KB light skinned compared to what you trying to say right now.
So, and they looked like twins, but they wasn't. They might have been 2 years apart. Bottom line is, no one could tell the difference. I hung out with them every other day, didn't know which one I was hanging out with. Shout out to Rich and Ed, rest in peace, Rich, love, rest in peace, baby. Bottom line is, everybody thought they was black. No twang in their language, straight hood voice. Rich says, yo, come to my crib. No doubt. I come to the crib, moms and pops sitting on the couch, black as hell. Bug me out. I'm looking like I'm in shock, because that young, I never seen a black Hispanic. They was Dominican.
Oh, that
was my first introduction to
Black
Dominicans
people
or very
Spanish
dark
people who look like black people.
So we go in the room, and I'm looking at this nigga. What are you, nigga? Like, what the fuck just happened?
What are you, nigga?
Because he didn't speak Spanish.
Forgive him.
His parents.
He didn't speak it to you.
Forgive him.
He didn't speak it at all. Neither. He didn't speak it at all.
His
His
parents
older
did.
brother and his older sister, they spoke it.
Okay.
But Rich didn't speak
It's
it at all.
usually the youngest person in the family
understand, though.
that doesn't catch on to the language. Like grandma speak it, maybe moms or pops speak it, but the kids don't speak it because they've been assimilated to American culture. But the same way that you just said that, a lot of kids we went to school with and all that, you know, their name ain't a regular last name. They look black, but their name is different.
Yep.
You know, on some different shit, but you wouldn't know it unless they express the culture.
yeah.
And that's the main point about this whole argument with hip hop. You said it. It's not about it being Puerto Rican or black or Caribbean or whatever, but who was there during the time when it happened?
Right.
It's the era. And even Melly Mel made a great point. He said, hip hop is not a black or a Puerto Rican thing, it's a Bronx thing.
Right.
And if you were involved in the Bronx, in the culture during that time, then you're a part of the culture, part of the inception of the culture. I mean, I agree with that, but everything, you know, we try to break down shit like a musket for everything. All right, take the muzzle off, take this down, this and let's see what it is, what's made of. But at the end of the day, the greatest thing about the culture is that it brought us together, okay, under one united flag. And it doesn't matter how much you did or how much I did or you know what I mean, who's more this and that. I just made an interesting point, and you did too without even knowing. I asked you about Puerto Ricans currently or Hispanics currently in hip hop after that first generation we talked about. And Curious was the only name that came out.
Yeah, it's like Bad Bunny's is the biggest artist, but he's not doing what we do.
Bad Bunny, you know,
Joel
current,
Ortiz.
You know what I mean? Joel.
I'm also
Ortiz.
drawing a blank.
Those
I know
are
I'm fucking
fucking
up because I'm drawing a blank. You know what I'm saying?
But
Joel
that's
Ortiz is
that's
fucking crazy.
the main point. That it's so
I never had to think about it. Yeah.
that we draw a blank. It don't just come straight to you. You got to think about it.
Yeah.
But when you think, hell yeah. Everybody we just said, what? Pitbull, motherfucking Joel Ortiz, these niggas in big, hell
niggas
hell
crazy.
yeah. But because it's so disproportionate, you don't automatically think 50-50. Like you could think as many Puerto Ricans as you could think of black people in hip hop. You can't. You can't. And that does not discount their contributions.
Cardi B, yeah.
Yeah, Cardi, you know what I mean? And the whole new crop of hip hop and rap artists, and the ones, like I said, that we don't even talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, he had a Beach Street story.
Yeah. I was talking to LA the other day, and he explained how Dougie Fresh got into B Street, that they went and got him, to be part of that scene. But for 30 years, I've been taking credit for Dougie Fresh being in B Street. Oh, really? I haven't told nobody, but so it was a B Street auditions. Me and Capone go. Turn out to, we were the last ones there. We were almost late. Like they were about to shut it down. We finagled our way onto the stage. All right, y'all can go ahead. So we go ahead and we doing our routine or whatever. So I see Dougie Fresh at the side of the stage trying to get on. And they're like, nah, this is the last group. So he wanted to audition. So not all the way through our routine, close to the middle or the end of our routine. I grab Doug and I pull him up and I give him the mic. And then he starts doing his thing, you know what I'm saying? So in my mind, all these years, he got into the movie, I helped him out, you know what I'm saying? I knew what he could do.
Once they
the people who were turning him away didn't know what he could do. And I knew if Dougie gets on this stage, Dougie's getting in the movie, even if I'm not. So, yeah, so that happened.
See?
I wouldn't have the balls to say that shit. Because sometimes I'd be like, did I imagine that whole thing? Like, nah.
There's a lot of unsung events that go on in this culture that get swept under the rug because, like you said, I don't be out here telling everybody or saying something like that, but little things like that change the trajectory of sometimes people's careers. You know what I mean? Just something as small as that. You know what I mean? Like, And then, after the notoriety of being in B Street led to this, led to that, led to this, to that. So when you trace everything back to its origins, it's always something, there's a source, always. And that's what we try to get to.
No doubt.
The source of this shit, man. Because like I said, the story got to be told comprehensively. Right. Without us arguing with each other about, yeah, well, I did this and I did that. Yeah, all right, we all did something, all right? Let's put it all together, say what we did, and put the story out to the world. All right, so generations that come in to follow, we lead by example. All right, they see the unity, they see how we held this culture together like with fucking shoestrings until the industry came together and bought it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
But they always been there. They was just biding their time.
Yeah.
They was biding their time. They was throwing money, but they was like in like the 90s, they was they was doing their thing. They was cultural. They was they was in the culture.
Yeah.
When that shit left, when they saw they jumped on that shit.
Well, I mean, the record companies and the corporations, fucked up the whole game right there. They pretty much bought out the culture and the music and made it a business.
Yeah.
People always ask me, did you ever think that hip hop would grow this big to get to the proportion? I'd be a dickhead if I sat here and said, yeah, I knew it would be this big, and I don't own shit. You know what I mean? I don't own no record company. I should have been a billionaire if I knew it was going to grow to these proportions. Hell no, I didn't know. I was a participant.
Right.
I was inside the bubble. It's the people who didn't have the talent, the performing talent or the creative talent, but had know-how, maybe business acumen or something that was outside
different
the
talent
culture.
than we had.
Exactly. And they had the other side of the coin that we needed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wish I would have stayed in college. I wish I'd have went to college. I was in college giving out flyers. I'm in college going to high schools giving out flyers for parties and shit. Because I was so inundated with the culture. I was like, school ain't gonna do this for me. School ain't gonna get me, ain't gonna make me who I wanna be.
Right.
You know what I mean? I thought I had gotten as much out of it as I could. And what I did get, I applied to my music, to my hip hop. Right.
But school up.
So moving forward, man, because I don't think this will ever be a conclusion, and I want to see what happens after this fight between Crazy Legs and Lord Jamar. But do you think that we'll get to some kind of resolution as far as, because we have to leave something definitive for the next generation. And some of it kind of speaks for itself, but a lot of these questions have been raised that come on, man, you ain't even have to ask that question. It is what it is. We here, we live together. You know what I mean? I make examples about the park. Man, in my neighborhood, we all in the park. Puerto Ricans is in the park, blacks is in the park. We're not disseminating whether the Puerto Ricans is Dominican or they come from Venezuela or none of that shit. Them people over there that speak Spanish and the black people over here. Okay, we all in the park. We in the basketball court. Predominantly black people playing basketball. Puerto Ricans is in the handball court. Predominantly Puerto Rican in the handball court. All right? If some people playing softball in the back. All right? We got our equipment out there. We playing, this and that. Motherfucking Puerto Ricans over there got the congas and the timbales out there over in the corner doing the same motherfucking thing, but in their own culture.
But listen, hold up, because that's one thing that we gloss over. Like, we were in these neighborhoods together, and what people fail to realize is that them congas, that's not another culture. That's Africa.
Oh yeah, that's African drums. Period.
I feel like the Black Americans weren't in touch with African culture, and I get that.
I agree.
But how ironic is it that the Puerto Ricans that people were making fun of with the congas, that was African culture?
Exactly. At a time when we
came from Africa to Puerto Rico,
like they doing that. That's us too.
Right. It's like
it
all comes back to that.
Yes, indeed.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes, indeed.
It does. But if you ask them same Latinos back in the days, they would not agree that those Congos came from Africa.
Nah, that's not true. That's not true, brother.
I think some would. I think some would.
Yeah, songs about it, man.
Because some would.
Listen. My first love was a Spanish joint, but a lot of the grandparents and the mothers and fathers of our day, they were prejudiced. They didn't want.
That's a different story.
They didn't want their daughters with no black kids.
No, that's true. And look, OC will tell you, my DJ Ecstasy, my man, he was like, our parents didn't want black people in the house, but now they family. You know what I'm saying?
OC's parents didn't
Right.
want us in it.
Right.
But going back to what we were saying about the congas,
OC parents didn't want us in there?
want us in the house. His father didn't want us in the house.
We took that shit over, yo. Let me Hey, OC Pops is the coolest motherfucker in the world right now.
Cool? But back then, he hated this color. Trust me, he did not like us at all.
He was from that generation, that older generation. Just like older black people is prejudiced than a motherfucker because they come from the slavery generation.
I want to add on to the conga thing you were talking about, because the first time I actually heard congas, if I can think about it, it wasn't really African. It was Ricky Ricardo on I Love Lucy. You know what I'm saying? Ba Lou. That's when I first heard it, and I was like, wow, I want to play drums.
Those are bongos, but okay.
Yeah, those are bongos. Bongos or whatever.
Congas, bongos, whatever.
My brother taught me how to beat on the table and make beats, which was basically I used to do it like this, like I'm playing like that. So that just kind of added on to the hip hop factor.
That was our instrument.
Yeah, we used to do that in the lunchroom.
Oh yeah, the lunchroom table.
We all knew how to play Apache on the lunchroom table.
No doubt. You know too though, in a certain way, Spanish people weren't robbed of their history the way blacks were. Right? Like black people, as far as a connection to Africa, you were robbed of that.
Right.
Right? So you're not going to look at congas or anything that's actually a part of your actual culture. You're not going to know that because you were stripped of it. And because you were stripped, of it,
Good point.
Again, you would be like, yo, you know what, this thing that's happening in another culture, I think that's dope, not knowing where the real reference of it comes from.
Exactly. We've been robbed of so much knowledge of our existence and where we come from. It's hard to make a definitive, you know what I mean, decision or opinion about anything when your opinions are based on knowledge that came from motherfuckers who trying to give you misinformation.
A lot. Yeah.
So right now, we still trying to decipher, you know, these kind of things as older people in the culture. But I think a lot of us have enough age behind us by now, okay, to be able to really look at this culture, you know what I mean, from an adult point of view, and remember us being kids in the culture, you know what I mean, assimilate all the things that have happened from now since then and come up with some kind of comprehensive view or viewpoint about what it is. You know what I mean? I think most people are just trying to put forward their own personal agendas when hip-hop is the agenda.
Right.
All right? And the 50th anniversary of hip-hop came around, or last year, year before, whatever, and everybody and their grandmother was coming out the fucking woodwork. Oh, I'm so and so. I did this and such. I want to be, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to be acknowledged. Especially if you put blood, sweat, and tears, you know, into this culture the way a lot of us did. But I think a lot of people was reaching, you know, like that toothbrush reach. Niggas was reaching like toothbrushes out here, trying to get some acknowledgement for something that they were just there to see, and not really made a movement or influenced anything. And I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at them for that, because what I say is, if hip-hop didn't have an audience, if it wasn't no crowd, if it wasn't nobody there when we brought our equipment outside, we wouldn't be shit. If nobody talked about us, if nobody hung our flyers up and on their wall, if nobody, you know what I mean, we'd be like Earl. Earl playing by himself, man. Earl playing by himself. You know what I'm saying?
Can I reference something? I guess
sure you can.
That thing that we got online with you hate Spanish people, right?
Oh yeah, that.
What I guess I enjoyed about that is hatred, man. Like you the first friend that I think I've ever had that had haters. Right? Like that.
Really?
I'm gonna tell you, I think that's a great thing. I got people who don't like me, but they're not haters. They're not following my life to then come behind me and say they don't like something I did, right? Like this person is really dedicating time of his existence to following what you do, right? And then to be able to say, nah. You know what I'm saying? That's a great thing.
Me being, who I am right now, I have to be a devil's advocate, you know what I mean, and give them the benefit of the doubt. You may have misunderstood, my take on what was said, or misunderstood my position as far as Boricuas in hip-hop, but like I said, I'm a living testament to the culture and as to the inclusion of Boricuas in hip-hop, you know what I mean?
I disagree.
No, you can't disagree with that. I said I am a living testament to the inclusion of Boricuas in hip-hop, because I'm one of the first people in hip-hop that had Puerto Ricans down with me, you know what I mean? I've waved the flag, I've been at the parades, you know what I mean? Like I said, I'm not one of them people that's like, oh yeah, I'm for Puerto Ricans, I have 3 Puerto Rican friends. No, fuck that, nigga. You know what I mean? You can see pictures of me. You can see my history, my discography, everything. You know what I mean? So as far as anybody coming at me like that, you are way misinformed.
So that's
way misinformed. That's why I brought my brother here today, okay? TMP, because there are some people who's taking inflammatory kind of opposition or views to this particular thing. I respected how you came at it, and I respect the fact that you have something real to say about it. You know what I mean? And this discussion is not over. It's not going to be over in one day. At some point, I'm going to bring on some other people who have concerns or opinions about this particular topic.
That wasn't what I disagreed with, though. Right? What I was disagreeing with was specifically was his take. It wasn't where you stand. It was that he was clear that he knows Caz is always hating bullying.
Right.
So that's what I was addressing. I'm addressing his commentary.
He was very specific.
He knew
about
before
if it
even
wasn't
started
for these people,
that
Caz
you was going to
nobody would know about Caz.
I don't even think.
And Caz has done so much shit beyond.
I don't even think that. Truthfully, I don't even think that person listened to the whole interview, because everything he said, Caz specifically named Wiz and said, yo, this was my first
Chase.
DJ.
Yep.
He specifically named Chase. And then he went into the comment and named both of these cats and said, you didn't mention them. So I really don't even think he listened to the whole podcast.
Now, what would you call that? Hate.
Stupid.
No, that's hate.
Either you didn't listen to what was said, or it's because we're not spreading misinformation. We talking facts. Yo, before we get up out of here, I just want to send a special shout out. I want to thank you, TMP, the microphone Prince, for coming through and sharing. You know what I mean? Your views. A lot of people will come out the woodwork and talk shit or say this and that. A lot of it, I really don't give a fuck, because I don't respect your view. If you don't come from where I come from, if you don't come from this particular era, and then you just speculate. You come from this shit. You Boricua. You are MC, not just rapper, MC. You come from the foundational era of this culture. Okay, did you blow up like Fat Joe, you know what I mean, or Pun? Maybe not, but you've been a part of this culture before that, while that was going on, and after that. We ain't even get into your motherfucking transformation from being motherfucking 400-something pounds to where you are right now. You inspired me on my weight loss journey, okay, to get my shit together and get out there and start moving and shaking. I admire you, I respect you, and I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on, bro.
Yo, can I say one more thing?
Sure you can, hell yeah.
I'm trying to say this quick. So, when I was growing up, my mother married a Puerto Rican dude from Puerto Rico. Like, my mother was kind of Americanized, you know what I'm saying? We had black friends and all that shit. So dude comes along, and he kind of soured my ambition or love for Puerto Rican culture. So I was trying to escape the house because he was smacking me around and shit, calling me all kinds of names and shit, telling me I was, why you hanging out with them cocolos and all that crazy shit.
Oh, he was one of them.
So I'm running from that, and where I ran to was hip hop. And where I ran to was black people who opened their doors to me and brought me into their home and made me their brother. We had battles. Nobody ever said you were Puerto Rican in the battle. You know what I'm saying?
They might have said you was whack or you can't fuck with me or whatever, but it wasn't nothing about
it. It wasn't nothing about that. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, that's why it hurts so much to hear the words like tethers, Latinos, colonizers. You know what I'm saying? Because we could argue or we could debate and we could enlighten each other about contributions made left and right, but there's a certain amount of Puerto Ricans in New York that was our culture. We didn't switch over to that culture. We grew up with that culture. We was brothers, you know what I'm saying? So for the narrative to change to, Puerto Ricans wasn't around, black people they hated each other and all that shit, like, hip hop is what changed that. You know what I'm saying? And that's my life, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. Well, once again, we appreciate you coming in and chopping it up with us. You already know what it is, baby. It's the CAZual Talk Podcast. You can check us out. Make sure you like and subscribe our show. If you got any comments, you feel any kind of way about anything we said, then drop it in the motherfucking comments, and we'll address it next time we come on the show.
Or hit his inbox.
Yeah, hit me. Don't call me.
I'll post his number on the comments. So y'all can just get directly at the
before we go, you already know I'm on LL Cool J's Rock the Bells Radio Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. My show is called That's the Joint. It's me and my girl Sha Rock, first female MC of hip hop. The Rock the Bells Festival is coming up June 28th at the Prudential Center in New Jersey. The lineup is bananas. If you haven't been to a Rock the Bells Festival yet, you gotta come and show the love, all right? Salute to my Henny boys, Big Dame, Big Tone.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mike, the Mighty Mike C, my man Late KB, and of course our guest, the Microphone Prince. And could you let our audience know where they can listen to some of your new music, where they can get at you, your website, your Instagram, whatever.
It's easy. Instagram, Microphone Prince, not the Microphone Prince, just Microphone Prince on Instagram. YouTube, stuff is on Apple, Spotify. We got You Must Learn. I got a joint for Lord Jamar called Fraud Jamar. Sorry, I had to throw that in there.
You had to let him have it
it's
too.
Crazy. Yeah, but I did it in a way, I didn't disrespect, I just addressed things. Anyway, so yeah.
And me and you did a joint recently.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's on there. It's called, what's it called?
The joint about the girl.
Yeah, I'm drawing a fucking. I need it.
That's why I threw it to you.
DLB and my man Day Ski.
No doubt.
You know why I'm called the Microphone Prince?
Why?
Because of the Microphone Wizard.
Because of DLB?
Yes, sir.
See? That's something new we just learned, all right?
No, I never told nobody that.
Hey, make sure you stay tuned, baby. It's Grandmaster Caz and the Henny Boys, my man TMP, the Microphone Prince, the Mighty Mike C, and the B.I., as always. Guys, we'll see you next time on the CAZual Talk Podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe once again.
Definitely.
Peace.